Hello, good morning. It's just gone 4 a.m. on Friday, the 25th of February. I'm just setting out ultra early on a 200-kilometre DIY random A. I'm riding it as if it was a 200-kilometre Audax. I'm sticking to the time allowances, etc., but it's not an official ride. I'm actually riding today from my hometown of Bath, doing a big loop round to Taunton Travelodge, which, as the crow flies, is probably only about 55 miles away. So I'm heading down the Wiley Valley, southeastish to Salisbury, then doing a big sort of turn. Bulk of this afternoon is going to be eastwards through Cranbourne Chase. We're really looking forward to that section before the final loop at the end, just up to Taunton Travelodge. Why such an early start then? Well, there's a few reasons actually, so let me go through them very briefly. Firstly, there's quite a nasty climb out of Midford when I get off the Two Tunnels Greenway, which I don't like going up there as the rush hour traffic starts building, so I'll avoid that this morning. There should hardly be any traffic at 5:15 in the morning. Secondly, I want to get to Travelodge not too late. I want to be able to have a shower, get changes and some casual clothes, walk over to the pub, have a meal, that sort of thing. And then an early-ish night, and then get up tomorrow and try and be on the road for about 9-10 o'clock. And I really want to be back to Bath pretty much in a straight line, because I quite like to see the rugby tomorrow afternoon. England playing Wales, and that's always my favourite match. Both teams are favourites of mine, so I've split loyalties there. I love Wales as much as I love England. And the third reason is this is my start of my build up to my Superman dinner series, so I really want to start getting used to being up at 3 o'clock in the morning and on the road for 5 a.m. So that's the reason for such an early start. Anyway, enough of the pre-ride waffle. I'll see you out on the road shortly. I'm now about a mile into the ride, and I've just entered Combe Down Tunnel, the second of the two tunnels out of Bath, heading towards Midford. One of the things I love about starting before 5 a.m. is you come through these tunnels unlit. Normally there's a strip of lights about 10-12 feet above the ground either side which illuminates it, but what it does is it really makes the ceiling come down. You don't realise it until there's no lights. First impression, I don't know how well it's coming out, but it's much higher than you normally imagine, because I guess you're getting that force effect of the ceiling. Just very quickly about the bike, I'm still on my 26-inch wheel straight handlebar hybrid Caribou. A couple of kit updates. I've got a couple of new things I'm trying out today. They're new for me, they're not new on the market. I've got my Garmin Edge 130, which I'm going to upload my route on tonight's Strava and also try and navigate off that today. But I've also got my trusted Garmin Edge 200, so I've got two Garmins on the go. And secondly, I've got a Christmas present from Linda. They're Paradise front panniers. But because I don't need that much storage space, I've actually just tweaked them and put them on the back rack. That's what I used to do with my old ones for youth hostling, and it's worked out fine. Plenty of room in there, and I've got everything I need for tonight. Anyway, another hour or so before it gets light. Oh yeah, there's a lovely third quarter moon there, about 20 degrees above the horizon. That's going to be sinking down in the west shortly. I'll talk to you more about the Edge 130 shortly. I tried to keep it non-techie. For one reason, I don't really understand all the technical side of it, but I'll just give you my impressions. I've seen a few reviews of it. Obviously the Garmin website, I've looked at a lot of the instructions before I bought it to make my choice, but I've also seen independent reviews from like the big cycling bodies like Cycling Weekly and Road CC, and most of what I've heard and read is very, very positive, and that's my first thoughts. But like a lot of these videos, they tell you exactly what it'll do, but they don't always explain how to do it. So I'll try and sort of give you my thoughts on that as a complete sort of beginner. Well, this is my second item with it. Just passing through the village of Road now, about 20 to 6. It's now 6:05, and I'm at a crossroads at the Tin Tabernacle Church at Brokerswood. It's probably not coming out that well on camera, but the sky is definitely more blue than it is black. Half past 6 now, and I'm just coming into Warminster. As you can see, the sun's about to rise. just coming into Warminster. It's about just gone 6:30. As you can see, it's light now. The sun's going to be up in about 5 or 6 minutes, I think. As I'm on this quiet stretch of road and it's light now, maybe a quick bit about the kit. It's not reviews because it's only the first outing for the panniers and the second outing for the Garmin 130, but I've certainly got some thoughts on that I'd like to share with you. The panniers then, I bought the rear Caradry silver panniers last year because my old ones were just so full of holes, and I did say at the time my wife's bought me some front ones for Christmas, some matching ones, so I've got those. They double up fantastically as rear ones, and that's what I've got today. Just to give you an idea, the rear ones, the maximum capacity I think is 45 litres. That's 45 bottles of mineral water, isn't it? These are 20, so half the capacity. The material is this very tough, shiny PVC coating. It claims to be waterproof. Whether it is or not remains to be seen, but they're certainly substantially built, that's for sure. Okay, right, with the Garmin, I'll just give you a little bit of backstory before I start telling you a little bit more about it on the road. A bit about why I've got two Garmins today. I've been using the Garmin Edge. It's an entry-level navigation device. I've been using the Edge 200 since May 2014, and I just got on with it straight away. It's just opened up so many doors for me. It really has. It's changed how I cycle. I was very aware that I was become so reliant on it. If it ever packed up, got stolen, broke, damaged, that sort of thing, I'd be lost. So I did buy a replacement while they were still available 2 or 3 years ago. And so I had two of these, and I did actually take two on several of my long trips, like for instance Dover to Cape Wrath. I had all the routes on both of these just in case one of them packed up or got stolen and lost. And I nearly had to use it because I nearly had to use that because one of the Garmins, the main one that was out in really heavy rain, just got lots of water underneath the screen and I could barely see the cursor. I nearly had to revert to the spare, but I didn't quite. Anyway, my original 200 packed up just before Christmas. I was made aware that you can send off and get a new battery put in, because I think that was the issue, but also all the rubber outer, especially over the button housing, the waterproofing of that, had all just decayed and perished. And I got a quote to have it all repaired, and it would have cost almost as much as a new one if you could get them, and you can't. So cut long story short, this is my backup, which is I've been using since December. So now I haven't got a backup, which is why I went to the 130. I guess that's the entry level version of this. I really like this. All the reviews are quite good. A few of the things I like about it is it's Bluetooth enabled. I can sync it with my phone, which means basically as soon as I finish a ride, I save it. By the time I get up to my computer, well, it's already on the internet. I don't even have to switch the laptop on, because that can be a bit of a faff sometimes. So it's synced with my phone, get all the weather reports. The capacity on it is about 4 times that. So again, when I did long trips like Dover to Cape Wrath, I would have about 8 or 9 routes on that, and it almost filled up the capacity. So every time I did a day ride of 200 kilometres, I had to delete one of the routes. There's always that danger I'll delete the ride and not the route, if that makes sense. That just won't be an issue with this. It's 4 times the space, the storage space, so that's a bonus. Also, it's much thinner and sleeker. You really tell the difference in weight. That feels so heavy compared to that, and that's not heavy. The actual screen size is exactly the same. The business end, where you want it, is exactly the same. The user interface. I rode it the other day just by itself, and I went out and I deliberately went off course a few times on a familiar route, and I didn't get all the off course alarms and prompts on how to get back onto course, and you're supposed to get that. And I thought, oh no, that really is going to be an issue if that doesn't work. Well, I came home, adjusted the settings, and I'm getting them today. Every time I make a turn, or even more than a 90-degree bend in the road, it's given me a prompt coming up to it. If it'll give me an arrow and count down to how far to go. And again, I just cut a little corner off, and again that one tells me instantly I'm off course. That's done it today. So I thought that may be an issue, but it's not. I just hadn't set
I hadn't adjusted the settings properly. There's a few other little issues which I'm still unsure about. I'll talk more about that later on. But today, when I get to Travelodge, I'll literally save the ride, and by the time I get into my room, it'll be on the internet. No need to cable this, as I always used to do, into a laptop, so that's going to be a big bonus. Cyclists coming behind me, so I'm just heading that way through Warminster, and I'm going to go down the Wylye Valley, turn eastwards in Salisbury, then head along Cranbourne Chase. Really looking forward to that, because I'll be going through Blandford Forum, then I'll be getting on the North Dorset Trailway, which runs along the old Somerset and Dorset Railway. It does a couple of crossings of the River Stour. The railway bridges were demolished about 50 odd years ago, but they've been reinstated. There's some metal structures, two of them going across the River Stour for cyclists and walkers and horse riders, so that's really nice, traffic-free route. And then skirt south of Sherborne, south of Yeovil, before I then start curling up to Travelodge. So this afternoon, really looking forward to. I'll speak to you more as I approach Salisbury. It's just gone 9 AM and I'm in lovely sunny Salisbury. In fact, I can't really get a good view of the cathedral because it's bleached in sunlight. Had a very fast ride down the Wylye Valley, very pleasant, lovely sort of winter's morning. I'm now heading east, and I think I'm going to be going into wind all afternoon, and also it's going to be quite undulating as I go through the Cranbourne Chase area of outstanding natural beauty. Really looking forward to this leg, even though I think it's going to be quite hard. It's quite a grind out of Salisbury. In fact, I came up a road I'd never been up past a hospital. Nice smooth cycle path alongside a fairly quiet road actually, and now I've just ended up on this off-road section. A quick update. So as I climbed out of Salisbury, went on some new roads, climbed up to this big escarpment, got on that gravel track, and then as it dropped down through some woods, there was about a mile of just like real muddy track wear, four-wheel drive tyres had sunk it in, and basic cut long story short, I had to walk a lot of that. Tried not to fall in as well, some of the pedals were really deep, so I lost quite a lot of time there. Kicked myself a little bit for not street viewing the route, but hey, there you go. I sometimes do it, I sometimes don't. I certainly do it on really long important rides, but something like a 200 I tend not to bother, so my own fault really. On this really nice section there, going down through these woods, there's an avenue of trees you may see behind me. Another quite long, slow off-road section. I rode across some farmland quite low down, and the wind was quite bad riding right into it, no shelter whatsoever. There was actually a main road, well, I say a country lane, parallel in it, and I nearly sort of thought, just use that. But there's always a danger that, oh, does this just go on for 500 yards, then turn off right, and I'd have a job finding how to get back on route. It's gone on for quite a long time. It's just about to go down there, hopefully not too far before we drop down and get on some metal roads, but I'm losing a lot of time on these stretches. It's just gone 1 PM, and after quite a long slog into a hard headwind over the very undulating Cranbourne Chase, I'm now in Blandford Forum. This is the start of the southern end of the North Dorset Trailway. It follows the old Somerset and Dorset Railway up to Sturminster, Newton and beyond. You probably see the old railway bridge here. So this is the old station here. There's the information board here. In fact, that picture looking down on the station would have been taken from that bridge up there. So that gives you an idea of what used to be here. Now just sheltered housing and a car park. Picture of a train just leaving the station, about to go onto single track under that bridge there. So just north of here, a few miles, the railway crossed the River Stour 4 times over bridges, and 4 of those bridges were demolished after closure in the 1960s, but 2 of them are being reinstated to make this into a trailway. I'm really looking forward to this next stretch because I haven't been up here for years, and hopefully it's going to be a lot easier than the last couple of hours. It's now 1:30 and I'm a few miles north of Blandford Forum, following the route of the Somerset and Dorset Railway, and this is one of the 4 times it crossed the River Stour. This lovely countryside, rolling hills either side. That's Hambledon Hill over there. I'm going to go down there and take some photographs looking back up. So it crossed the River Stour 4, possibly 5 times. I know of definitely 4, and the railway bridges were demolished soon after closure. And this one, and one at Fiddleford in a couple of miles' time, just before we get to Sturminster Newton, that's been reinstated as well. You can see a lot of the brickwork looks like it's been replaced, although this sort of looks original, and these flood arches here, and then they just lifted in a steel cycle pedestrian horse riding bridge. Fantastic here, isn't it? Stour looks a bit green and murky today, but look, normally in the summer it's absolutely beautiful down here. Well, I'm here at Taunton Travelodge, 20 to 8, much later than I planned to be. The leg between Salisbury and Sherborne was really character building. After that it got a little bit easier, but I'm just going to go in now, check in, see if I can get some food. I think I'm going to have to walk over the pub, so I'll chat to you later in my room. Hello again. Well, it's now 9:20. Gosh, I arrived at this Travelodge absolutely shattered. The leg between Salisbury and Sherborne was just so hard. Did a couple of long stretches off-road, which I actually enjoyed. I mean, the channel is called Andy's Adventures, so I quite like things like that when they go wrong. It sort of forces you to work out solutions, but gosh, it really took its toll. And then Cranbourne Chase was up and down, up and down, up and down, and it was just constantly in the wind. And I'm not complaining, I actually really enjoyed it, but I just knew it was going to be a long day. And to give you an idea, if this had been an official DIY Audax, I was over the time allowance by about an hour and a half. That was how hard it was. I didn't eat enough either. When I got to Sherborne, I went into the town centre and just bought some chocolate and some of those monster drinks. And then when I got here, the whole point was I was hoping to get here sort of quite early, have a leisurely shower and wander next door, have a meal. I just felt sort of under pressure because I was so late checking in. Phoned my wife, sort of said, I'll ring you from the pub. There's no signal in the pubs. So I checked in, really friendly girl checked me in, said there's a pub right next door. They don't actually do food in the Travelodge, it's like the pub's part of the group, I think. Went in there and I didn't even look at the menu. I just said to the girl behind the bar, I found steak and chips please. And she showed me the menu and I saw it was like £27. I thought, blow me up, just not paying that for steak and chips. So I saw the burger and chips, so I went for that. That was £15, but having said that, it's really nice. It really hit the spot. I definitely needed some food, a couple of beers to wash it down with. There was no phone signal in the pub, so I sort of felt under pressure to sort of get back here because I really wanted to just talk to my wife, let her know I'd got here okay. It's been a very long day, but looking back on it, I navigated the whole ride with the Edge 130, and as I showed you earlier on, I had the 200, my 200 that I'm very familiar with as a backup, but I just didn't need it. It was interesting comparing the two. I'll try and do some shots on the road tomorrow and show you what I mean. One criticism I got with the Edge 130 is the compass is very almost gets bleached out by the screen. Maybe if I turn the brightness down it may appear darker. So the actual compass is quite hard to read, and I've always sort of thought, I can sort of pretty much get an idea of which direction I'm heading in just by the compass on the 200, but on the 130 the compass is almost bleached out. There is one there but it's bleached out.
but it actually gives you your bearing, the heading, and that's something I don't really want, because I just sort of think, well, if you've got the compass, why do you need that? You can probably work it out yourself. So if I could change that in the settings, I would do, but I don't think you can actually. But the great thing today was I navigated the whole way on the 130 by tweaking the settings after the first ride. I've sort of like sorted out a lot of the issues. The one thing I didn't try today, I didn't want to try too much, but I think if I go through the settings while I'm actually navigating, I will get distance to go. Whether I get an estimated time to go, I'm not sure, but there's this thing called Garmin Connect IQ, I think it is, where you can download different apps. So I need to sort of investigate that really. So I'm pretty sure I will get it resolved in the next month or so. So my thoughts about the 130, I really like it. All the positives far outweigh the one or two negatives. Like I said, the one sort of thing I don't like is that giving you the bearing. I just don't need it. If the compass was bright enough, you sort of think, what's the point? It's duplicating from information that's already. As I said earlier on, I did watch a couple of reviews by guys from the big cycling publications. Cycling Weekly and Road CC. These are like professional journalists. They know how to sort of present a good article. One of them sort of said both of them said this is a fantastic piece of kit. They really were just so enthusiastic about it. One of them sort of said the only issue is it's okay for minimal navigation, but you wouldn't really want to navigate too far on that. Well, I would sort of like thoughtfully disagree on that. I would sort of say, going by today's experience, I think you could navigate quite a long way, because I've always done it on the Edge 200. I've never had mapping. I've only ever used like the breadcrumb trail. In other words, the line. If the line goes right, you go right. So I would sort of say I disagree with that opinion. My thoughts about the Garmin Edge 130 are really positive. There's a couple of negatives, but I'm pretty sure I may even be able to work them out. I mean, this is the only the second time I've used it, and I got all the way from Bath to this Travelodge on quite a complex route actually. You can probably tell I'm really shattered, so I'll say good night. I'll chat to you in the morning just before I leave here and head back to Bath. Hello, good morning from my Travelodge room. Feel a lot fresher this morning. I was shattered last night. I went to bed, I guess, about 9:45, and by the time I tossed and turned and sort of thought about the day, I guess I was asleep about 10 and slept right through till 7 a.m. this morning. I set my alarm for 7, sort of woke up naturally, just checked what time it was. It was about 7 minutes to 7, so hey, that's like 9 hours sleep. Feel quite stiff and sore. There's a Sainsbury's just on the other side of the car park. I just went over there hoping it'd have a cafe for some breakfast. It has got a cafe, but it's not open yet. So I bought a lot of supplies for later on. I'm having my second cup of coffee in the Travelodge room and bought myself some donuts for breakfast. I'm going to try and be on the road for about 9 a.m. So today's route is only about 53 miles. I'm not sure whether the wind's going to be beneficial. It says it's coming from the southeast, and I'm sort of heading sort of northeast, so I think I'm going to get it from the side maybe. Should be a lot flatter today. I'm heading over the sunset levels to Barrow Bridge, then up skirting round Glastonbury into Wells, and then there's this big lump over the Mendips up to Salisbury, as you'll see from this profile. And then it's pretty much gradually all the way down to Bath, 53 miles. Just coming up to 9 a.m, so quite a late start for me. It's only 53 miles back home anyway. There was a lot of heavy frost on the grass earlier on, I noticed. I did feel the cold coming in last night, but I just sort of thought that was because it's after dark, and also I was just so desperate to get here. But thinking about it, it was a clear sky, there's bright stars, so yeah, it's been quite cold overnight. Sun's up now, nice and warm. Just overwhelming sound of traffic on the motorway, which is right next to me, so hopefully within a couple of miles I'll be on some nice quiet roads, so let's get going. So
I've got a left-hand turn coming up. It could be just a sharp bend in the road. So I'm going to try and give you an idea of the difference between the 200 here and the 130. The 200, the minute you stop, a few seconds later, it just reverts to an overview of the whole route. So you need to be sort of moving for a few seconds for that then to become the line, the track, the GPS track, which is why it's quite hard to navigate if you're walking or riding very, very slowly, because it just reverts to this. The 130 doesn't do that, so that's a positive. Here's what I was trying to describe last night. It's got a compass there pointing north, but it's very, very faint. Can hardly make it out. And then you've got the heading there, look, northeast, which I just sort of think duplicates that really. If I could get rid of that, I would, but I'm not sure if I can. And also, I don't particularly want the speed on there. You can cycle through here by touching the down button on the right hand side. At the moment, I don't really want to do too much, just in case I jigger the settings and I have to spend too long trying to work out what I've done. But I certainly will be experimenting with that. I do know you can home in, you can zoom in and zoom out on the track, so that's definitely a bonus compared to that, because you cannot do that. So there's a left hand bend or turn coming up. I'm going to try and show you the difference between the two. Okay, so now we're moving. You'll see the Edge 200s turned into a track. Now look what happens with this. It's telling me there's a prompt. I've got to fork left in 140, 121 feet, count you down. And that comes on in the dark, which is really, really useful. I found that useful last night. Look, it's taking me down to this track. And then after you've made the turn, it almost sort of confirms you've done it there. And then it goes back to the track. That's definitely a bonus. Now the track has appeared on the 200. Can you see just how bright the distinctive the compass is in the top left hand corner compared to that one? So that's the difference between the two. I'm starting to really like this 130. You just have to accept the fact it is slightly different, but I think on balance it's going to be better. And the beauties of GPS, why I embrace it so much, is just taking me up a track which looked like a no-through road into a car park, and I'm now on the Taunton to Bridgewater Canal. I probably just wouldn't have found this without a GPS, or it had taken a lot of planning on a map. So yeah, this is just an example of why I love navigating by GPS. Progress has been so much easier this morning because of the wind direction. It's been aiding me most of the ride. Occasionally when I turn east, I feel it's quite hard going, and you may hear it actually on the audio of this. But I've just popped into Shapwick Church porch to have a bit of lunch. So it's only just gone 11, so it's an early lunch. It's a lovely central here. I first discovered this church actually on television. There was a repeat of an old John Betjeman 1960s film which he did a series for the BBC, and he came here and sort of praised it actually, and I've just always loved it ever since I started cycling. I often ride by here and stop, and some lovely stained glass windows inside. And today is just a lovely sun trap, but it's also sheltering me from what's quite a cold easterly wind. There's a really big climb of the day coming up over the Mendip, so as I leave Wells I'll head up on the road that goes up towards Salisbury. That's quite an unforgiving road, but you can really take the sting out the tail of it as you, I guess about a quarter of the way up, turn right at Horrington, and there's like a loop that sort of goes around it and then rejoins it, and it really does take the sting out the tail. So I've just come up this road in that direction. It's not much more than a country lane, but cars tend to zoom up there. There's some blind bends and it's quite often narrow. You just feel very vulnerable. But what I find is if you turn right here, you go along here, turn left, and you sort of parallel it up, and in effect we'll be joining it much closer to the summit, where I then turn off and start heading back down to Bath. This really does seem to take the sting out of the tail, if for no other reason. The gradient eases a little bit and there's very little traffic along here. I'm now on this much more pleasant and relaxing minor road, so I'm heading up this way. May get a good view of the Wales transmitter, the Mendip transmitter rather, in the distance. That's looming above Wales. So this road, as I said, parallels that other one, the one I've just left, and then in about a mile or so it'll loop round to the left, rejoin that road, I'll turn right, and within a couple of 100 yards I'll turn left before I start dropping down towards Radstock, and then the final leg into Bath along the 2 Tunnels Greenway. One last little bit about the Edge 130 then. So there's the Garmin 200, the one I've been using since 2014. You can see whenever I stop it just reverts to the overview of the route. There's the cursor there, it gives you an idea of where I am on the route. I'd say just over halfway. But what I like about the Edge 130 is it stays, the track remains. So you can see there's a very bold black line, that's where I've been. There's the black cursor, and this is the route, the lighter grey route where I'm heading. Can you see where it's almost obscured the compass arrow there? What I said earlier on is, if you use the bottom navigation button on the right hand side, look, I'll show you what we've got. There you go. That gives you a profile of the gradient. There I am there, quite close to the bottom. Part of me says I'm not quite sure I want to know that, and the other part of me sort of says if you just think differently about things, quite often whole lots of opportunities come up if you just reappraise things. If I press it again, there's more of a profile of the climb. Tells you the elevation. And then there's a data table. That's the distance I've done. Average speed, my distance for today. It gives you an idea of the battery life, which is quite good. Not in percentages, it just gives you like a bar. So you can see there's almost over half left. But this is what I want, the distance and the estimated time to finish, and that just doesn't make sense. I've actually got 22 miles to go, but it's saying 42.1, 5 hours. I'm not quite sure why that is, but if I can just figure that out, if I can get the distance and the estimated time to go, I'll be a happy bunny with this. This is so much nicer coming up here, it really is. It's the gradient's eased and you haven't got the traffic zooming up by you. I'm now approaching the summit, so this road is the one that snakes back on. I don't know if you can see, there's a car running along there. That was the road that I started coming out of Wales on, which is actually quite unpleasant to ride, to be honest. So I'm going to go up there, join it, turn right, just up past that little house there set back in the trees, and you'll see there's some woods up there. I turn left there before I start dropping down to Bath. It's now 3 o'clock, I'm in the old colliery town of Radstock, you can probably gather. There's the old market, cattle market, which is now Radstock Museum. It's bang on 3 o'clock, the bell's just ringing. I've just come in along that way, along the where it's a cycle path actually. In fact, from 12 miles almost to my house is nearly all off-road or on cycle trailways. So that's the old GWR railway in there. I'm going to go along here in about a mile or so, get on the Collier's Way, 2 tunnels. That'll bring me to within about 2 streets of my house. If you've got this far, thank you very much for watching. Hope it hasn't been too technical. I've just tried to give a little bit of user experience about navigating on the Garmin 130. Most of the functions I really don't understand. I may get my head around them as time goes on, but I've always wanted a Garmin, really just for 2 reasons really. Just to record my rides and log them, and main purpose is to navigate, and I'm fairly happy with this one. I would say at the moment I'd give it about 8 out of 10. If I can work out how to change the data field and get distance to destination and estimated time to destination, and I'm pretty sure I'll manage that in the next couple of days, I would give it a 9.8 out of 10. The only slight criticism, if I had to criticise it, would be that compass needle. Now the screen is so glare free, it's like a Kindle really. You just get the impression they've listened to the feedback and taken it all on board and just tweaked things. So I'm really so impressed with it. If I turn the brightness down of the screen, I may even be able to increase the clarity of the compass needle, I don't know. But yeah, for a device which costs £124 entry level, really gobsmacked by just how really good it is. I think I'm going to get years of use out of that. Anyway, if you got this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to finish here and say look out for each other, take care, and see you soon.